I'm definitely looking forward to wide receiver position, but I would say off, a dark horse position battle is gonna be, I would say, who is the backup guards gonna be behind Spain and Josh Klein, because you hear it a lot. You've heard it a lot that maybe Josh Klein is the weak link of this offensive line. Now, granted, this offensive line is as good as I think they are. I mean, I don't think it's too bad to say, oh, you're a weak link of a good offensive line and still perform well. I want to see who could challenge him, who will make him work for that spot, and Quinn Spain as well. Can Trey Tola improve in pass blocking to maybe challenge Quinn Spain? I don't think Spain or Klein will lose their spots at all, but I could definitely see a battle as far as Tretola, Lolito, and Corey Levine, who will go behind him and definitely play at the guard position. And also forget, Dennis Kelly could step in a pinch and play guard as well. So I think just trying to see who will be that added depth in the offensive line, I think it's something I'm definitely going to be looking at. And with the tight end position, yeah, I agree. That third tight end is going to be a battle. And I'm going to go completely off the map. I don't think this is going to happen, but this is just a off the wall, you got to be kidding me type of thought. What if the Titans brought in Gary Barnish, the former Cleveland Brown tight end? Maybe could be that squeeze. I mean, that would be another mouth to feed as far as passing. I know the Jags are looking at possibly working him out. I mean, he might be that mix between Supernaw and Amaro, and maybe, but then again, that might push Jonnu Smith down the pecking order if you bring him in. But again, that's just off the wall crazy, because that would be maybe one too many mouths to feed the football to, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that was off my radar, but I mean, if something like that were to happen, basically, in my mind, if the price is right, sign them up. You know what I mean? You never know what's going to happen in those 16 games you got to play each year. So injuries do happen. You never know who's going to go down, and you don't want to get stuck with, Philip Supernaw. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. There's going to be guys out there that are going to be available that may be a better combination of both, pass catcher and a blocker than what we already have. But, in the next couple of years, we're going to have our own guys to re-sign. So, everybody talks about how much money we have. In my mind, I know you have to spend a certain amount anyway, but you want to save what you got for what we already have, because we got a nice core that's already built here.
Oh, absolutely. And I definitely agree with that because, like you said, and I had to come to that realization as well early in free agency. I'm thinking, okay, we got $40 to $45 million left in cap space. Why are we not spending any of it? We all got to remember, we just picked up Taylor Lewan's 5th-year option. Next offseason, we got to have Taylor Lewan on a long-term deal. He has to be re-signed. Then, that's going to be at least $13 to $15 million. Then you're probably going to have to shell out close to $30 million a year for Marcus. If Marcus, stays on the field 16 games this year, we're going to have to re-sign him. We're definitely not going to let him go. I mean, he's not going anywhere. And then I've even heard this is probably a couple of years down the line. Then we're going to have to look at Jack Conklin too. And, being a first-round pick, which, we'll have to get him re-signed probably in 2019 or 2020. We'll have to make sure he's re-signed. So now I see why they have that money still left. It's just to make sure we take care of our own guys, which is an excellent plan and a very good idea for that. Any last thoughts that you have on the positions before we go into pick my brain?
Man, I think we covered everything. I'm pretty sure we went over everything, and the only question mark I have that we really, aren't sure about, and I guess I'm more against it than probably most, is that whole Eric Weems situation. I'd like to see I'd like to see another, if you want to look at special teams, you never know what's going to happen with Trey McBride. I think Trey McBride is a better option than Eric Weems, but we don't need to go back into that. I just think that Eric Weems is washed up, and I really want nothing to do with the guy.
I can understand that. Trey McBride, probably in my mind, could be a dark horse pick to make the team. I would love to see what he could do as far as he did make a couple of nice plays in special teams toward the end of the year. And we're about to go into one of my favorite segments of Titans in Truth. And before we do that, I do want to give a quick, little commercial promo mentioning a good friend of mine, Miss Allison Conley, Rose Jewels Boutique. She is a friend and she supports the show, so she is my first sponsor of this show, Rose Jewels Boutique. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for some nice jewelry, something different than what your average jewelry store has, check out my girl Allison Conley. She is a terrific jewelry maker. A lot of the jewelry that she makes, she wears herself as well. She personally makes this jewelry that she has. You can check her out on her Facebook page. Check out Rose Jewel Boutique on Facebook, also on Instagram. Take a look at that. I may have her coming on the show at some time this year by phone. She may definitely give you some information about her jewelry. She can ship anywhere. So ladies, if you're looking for some beautiful jewelry to wear, fellas, if you're looking for that nice gift to give your special lady, and fellas, she even makes jewelry for us guys too, definitely as well. So I'm a customer. My wife has at least 3 bracelets that Allison made for her personally, and they are absolutely top of the line. She is definitely my jewel connoisseur of the world. I would go with her over any other jeweler in the world, period. So check her out, Rose Jewels Boutique. Allison, I love you. Give you a good shout out, my dear friend. Rose Jewel Boutique. Check her out. And she may give out a special as far as on the show. I'll give you some more information on that, as I will probably have her as a guest on the show to talk about her jewelry also going forward. But again, of course, as some of you, if you're still joining kind of late, I'm here with Matt Nicrone of Two Tone Uncensored, a great podcast. I enjoy. He is a friend of Titans of Truth, a friend of the show, well supporter as well. And we're about to get into the best part of the show, and it is called Pick My Brain. Pick My Brain. This is where you get to want to pick my brain a little bit, and in this special instance, we also get to pick Matt's brain a little bit on all things Titans, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And so got some questions from the audience, from some Facebook followers. We're going to get right into it. Matt, you ready for this?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right. Well, the first questions are going to come from Adrian Martin. My frat brother, what's up? Blue Phi, good sir. The comments he had, first off, position battles that he was looking forward to, of course, is wide receiver, guard, definitely what we talked about, and he felt that we were set at running back, quarterback, and tight end. His first question is, and this is an interesting question, are the Titans a playoff team without Corey Davis?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. The hype is real, man. I don't think I've ever been more optimistic going into a season than I am right now. Corey Davis, to me, has the potential to be that number 1 guy, but he's not there yet, and I'm not expecting him to be there this season. So, anything out of him is a plus. I think, that's a minor part of this major offense we got going on right now. So I would love to say that he's that number 1 guy moving forward in years to come, but he hasn't done anything yet, and anything we get out of him this year is a bonus, in my opinion.
All right. I actually tend to agree with that as well. I mean, I think we would still be a playoff team without Corey Davis, but I mean, like you said, he's an added bonus. I mean, he makes us that much better than what anything we had in years past. So even if we didn't have Corey Davis, we would still have Decker, we would still have Taywan Taylor, Tajay Rashard. I think we'd have been just fine. Excuse me, still even without Corey Davis, but I am glad to have him on this team. And quickly, we did discuss this already. Of course, he asked about Tajay Sharp, Rashard Matthews, Harry Douglas making the 53-man roster after training camp. Now, Adrian, we did go into this a little bit earlier. I think we both agree, and Matt chime in on this at any point. We agree that Rashard Matthews is going to be on the team regardless. I mean, he's going to be starting. I think Tajay Sharp is going to have a great chance to still contribute. Now, we didn't talk about Harry Douglas much. I honestly think Harry Douglas is on the outside looking in. I know he has rapport with Malarkey and with Coach Trubisky, but I just think it is time. I think Harry Douglas, it might be time for him to go.
Yeah, I don't think well, first off, let me just say, for anyone that's not sure if Rashard Matthews is making the team, you got to go back and watch last season, because there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be on the field as that number one guy. If not, I don't even see him getting beaten out by Decker. Like, let's just assume Decker comes back and performs the way we want him to. Matthews isn't going anywhere. As far as Harry Douglas goes, I could definitely see him not necessarily calling it quits, but I could see him as getting put into a coaching role as opposed to a player. I don't think he makes this roster. There's just too much talent, young talent on top of that. Nothing against the guy. I know he's a great locker room guy. He's got a great rapport with the coaches, which is why he's still here. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see him fall back into a coaching role. Keep him in the locker room with the guys, but just kind of put him as the player coach, so to speak.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more on that. Now, we did touch on this, and I think we both will agree on this next question. And this is talking about the guard center position. As far as first off, he asks, will Spain and Klein finish as the starters on the offensive line out of camp, with notwithstanding injuries? And I'm not going to speak for you, but I think, obviously enough, I think we all agree offensive line is going to stay intact. Klein and Spain are going to start. I don't see anybody just completely beating them out unless there's an injury.
Exactly. Nothing to add. Nobody's taking that spot.
No. And I think we even mentioned it. I think behind them, of course, as far as guard and center, I think Lolito, Tretola, and I believe Levine will be the three guys that go behind in the guard and center position as far as backing up Klein, Spain, and Ben Jones, in my honest opinion. I just think it'll be those three guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to argue. I don't see another scenario, really. Those are good guys to have. I don't know if we go ahead and pick up another one. I guess it would have to there would have to be an injury for that to really go down. But I wouldn't be surprised if after all these cuts are made, if we go ahead and pick up a veteran as well. Absolutely.
And then and so we're gonna go to another question, and this is for my guy Brandon Bowers. What's up, Brandon? Good old friend of mine. He basically said, what are we going to do with Tajay Sharp? Depth or bench all the year? And what I think is, and I think this has to tie in with this case and this lawsuit that he's dealing with. I think that's why we have this particular question, in my honest opinion. But what do you think about the stuff going on with Sharp?
I don't know what to think about the whole situation with him and Tretola. What I assume happened is some guy at a bar ran his mouth was trying to get a money grab, instigated the situation and shit happened. But I heard they're countersuing. Like I said, I haven't played a whole, I don't know exactly what's going on with this. But as far as the talent goes on this team and just talking from a football perspective, from what I've seen from him already, like you said earlier, a pretty good rookie season. He came out of the gates red hot and kind of fizzled out a little bit midway through the year. But I don't see him just laying down for anyone, no matter who it is. Now, I don't see him as a number one, number two guy. He doesn't fit the slot better than a lot of the other guys we already have. So he's fighting for that last receiver spot. He's basically that reserve guy.
Yeah.
And that's not even guaranteed. So we got to see how he bounces back from this ankle injury. I don't think that this lawsuit is going to set him back any. I think he just needs to get his head right, focus on football, and, try to beat out the next guy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And everybody, I'm just letting y'all know, I know a lot of people have sent questions, and I appreciate that with everything. Now, I will say with some of the questions, some of the questions I think have already been answered. So if I don't directly ask that particular question, it's not because I or Matt, we don't want to answer it, but it feels like we may have already went into that. So we may have already answered that question a little bit earlier. So, but also I wanted to get into a little bit from Christian Horror. Basically ask, how did Marcus look moving around? And so I know I could go ahead and try to start answering this question, knowing that I'm a little bit closer where I am. I would definitely say from what I have seen, as far as on the practice field, at least the limited view that I have from my job across the lake at the facility itself, Marcus looks like he's moving around pretty good. It doesn't look like they're rushing him back. They're letting him take his time. He hasn't ran completely full speed yet. He hasn't had it where the entire defense is on the field going at him. Mind you, he has only been going at 7-on-7s. So, yes, that gives him time to get chemistry with his receivers and get it in timing. But he hasn't had to go, full drop back, full read, full get out of harm's way, especially with a defensive end or an outside linebacker veering down on him. He hasn't done that yet. So that remains to be seen as far as completely being complete 100%. But if off the top of my head, I think Marcus looks really good from the limited action I've seen with him, and also with things I've seen on TitansOnline.com. Looks like he's moving pretty good. He has gotten back to jogging and running. He's going to get with his receivers this upcoming week to prepare for camp. So Marcus looks like he's going to be ready to go. I don't know how much in the preseason he's going to play. But that's just my thought about that. Matt, what are you thinking as far as Marcus is concerned, from at least what you think, as far as you think he's ready to go week 1?
I mean, that's the thing. He was ahead of schedule in his rehab, so obviously that's great. You do not want to rush this injury. This guy is going to be, when he gets his new deal, the highest paid quarterback in the league. So you got to protect this investment. You don't want to rush him back. I don't care if he's ready right now. I'm sure he wants to go. I don't doubt that one bit, but we need to watch what we do with him and make sure he is 100%, not 95%. We got to make sure he's ready completely. Because, that was a fluke injury end of the year. I hate that some people, even fans, will say, oh, he's injury prone. No, he's not injury prone. That was a freak accident end of the year. I honestly think that going into this year, there's going to be so much focus on can he stay healthy. That's not a good thing. We don't want to worry. We don't need to worry about that. We want to worry about winning games And I think he's smart enough to realize that and focus on winning games, not worry about getting hurt.
Absolutely, and I definitely can agree with that. And just throwing out a couple of comments on position battles from Ian Talley. He's focusing on the wide receiver battle with Davis and Sharp. Good call on that one. Definitely going to be a battle from Chase Tidwell. Of course, looking at progress of Taywan Taylor, he's been looking really good, really strong in practice. Jonnu Smith, we've mentioned earlier, could definitely be the number 2 spot, but he's got to earn it. And definitely the position battle at wide receiver 3 between, I think Decker, we've already discussed, I think Decker is definitely going to play a big role in the slot. And Taywan Taylor's going to get some too as well. They're not going to leave him completely off the field. But Christian Harr also had one other question which we could quickly get into before we get into our last Blu Bombshell, and that was about Corey Davis. He asked basically, is Corey Davis a full go? About how he's looking. And again, from what I can see, from what I saw, Corey Davis looks like he's going to be a full go. He's not going to have any issues. Mike Mularkey has even said it himself on TitansOnline.com that he won't even be listed on the injury list. He, started off, they started slowly with him. They slowly started to take the handcuffs off of him, and they like what they see. They think he's going to be ready to go day one, going into the preseason. I'm very excited to see Corey Davis. I already have a number 84 jersey. It's an old Randy Moss jersey. I'm going somewhere, and I'm going to have them put Davis on the back of that jersey. So that tells you what I think of Corey Davis, in my honest opinion. But Matt, feel free to chime in. I am ecstatic to see what this kid is going to be able to do.
Definitely, man. First off, you need to go get whatever you can, get your money back for that Randy Moss jersey. I feel bad for you on that. But
oh man, yeah. That's okay. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Hey, I like to forget that every chance I get. Randy Moss was never a tight man. That dude showed up just to get paid and didn't do a damn thing.
Anyway, now that is another story that we won't talk about at this moment about Randy Moss. But that is a trip. I absolutely agree with that. But that was mostly all of what we got from Pick My Brain. Thank everybody for the comments and the questions that you have. But we do have one more that we're going to go into. And this is kind of my Blu Bombshell question of the night to end the night, to end this very special uncensored version of Titans in Truth. And this is where, Matt, I want you to just go absolutely uncensored. I know y'all do this all the time on this podcast, but this time, for this particular question, I want you to go ham, go crazy with it. Let's have a lot of fun with this Blu Bombshell. And the question is, and this is inspired because I was listening to an ESPN show. I was coming back from Memphis. I had to go down to Memphis for a funeral of a family friend. And I was coming back from home, from Memphis, to Nashville. And I was listening to this show, and they put out, a question to people saying, what coach could you sit down and have a beer or a drink with? And so that's what I want, and that's what I'm going to put out as a question. I basically said, since there are so many coaches in the major leagues, in NFL, college sports, major league, NBA, what top 3 coaches could you see yourself just sitting down having a drink with? Having a beer, having a drink, a margarita, some whiskey, whatever you would want to drink. If you could pick any top 3 coaches, have any one of those 3 sitting down with you to have a drink with, who would that be? Who would those top 3 be? Any coaches in the leagues, and even if it's not NBA, NFL, college, major league, any coaches that you could think of that you would think about having a drink with. And
I assume we're going all time now. You don't have to be a current coach, right?
No, I'm talking all. Let's go all time. Let's go. You know what? Let's go all out. Living or dead. If you had a chance, who would that be?
All right. Well, I can name about 10, but here's what I'll do. I narrowed it down. You told me about this a little while ago, so I kind of had a heads up on who I was going to pick. But I got two guys in one spot for the same reason. And all three of my answers are going to be for different reasons. So I'll start off with Bill Parcells. He wasn't even the first guy I thought of. The first guy I thought of, hands down, and I just heard an interview from Jim Washburn the other day. He came on, I believe it was midday, and that guy he's in my mind, he's got that smart ass, hard nosed, like that coach that you don't want to fuck with.
I agree,
but him and Bill Parcells have that same kind of smart ass humor to them that I would just have a blast with. I'm sure Parcells, and I've heard stories from Washburn, but those guys, you put them together, I'm sure it would be an amazing time. Next, obviously, the next guy, I don't have any personal affection for the guy, but I think he would probably be able to throw a few back and probably outdrink me. Rex Ryan has got to be the guy.
All right, I like where you're going. He's got
to have stories that would just probably blow your mind. But he actually, I'm here in South Carolina. His son plays for Clemson. He was actually, I believe it was in possibly New Orleans, where the Rex brothers got into a fight not too long ago at a bar. I mean, those dudes are just out of their mind. Self-explanatory for Rex Ryan. My third one, and I'm staying in my wheelhouse. If you hadn't noticed, I'm going football all the way around.
I love it.
My third one is a guy that I respect as a player, as a coach, as an analyst, Herm Edwards. He's the kind of guy that, he'll take you out Saturday night and he'll make you want to go home and go to church Sunday morning. He's just that type of dude. There's not a bad thing I could say about Herm Edwards. I think that, he's been through so much. He's always got something positive to say. Just a straight up good dude. And I bet you, even if you're out in that environment, you still have a great time with him. Even though that may not be his thing, I know he's always talking about don't push send and you don't need to be out late, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But that's a good dude. I'd like to have a drink with him.
All right. Well, I'm going to go a little bit differently on I had a hard time putting this together, but I think I would have to first say the first coach I would have to say that I would love to just sit down and have a drink with would be an old college basketball coach, rest in peace, for my alma mater, University of Memphis, Larry Finch, the former head coach of the University of Memphis. When I tell you I watched a lot of games when I was a kid with the University of Memphis before John Calipari got there or anything. This man could coach. And he cared about his players. He brought in Penny Hardaway, Elliot Perry, the older players back in the day. They got good. They got into the NBA, had nice careers. I would have just been honored to sit down with him, to have a drink, just to talk basketball some. I think I could have learned a lot from him, basically about things, about life and about basketball, about the Memphis Tigers, because he loved that city, he loved that team, and me being a Memphis graduate, absolutely love him. No doubt about that. The second coach I would go with, I'm going to go a little bit of college football from Florida State. I would love to sit down with and interview Bobby Bowden for just a couple of minutes, just to sit and have one drink with him. Bobby Bowden, I loved his days at Florida State and Tallahassee. A lot of great players came through there, with, Charlie Ward, he was down there with Dion, and I mean, hundreds of great players that came through there with Bobby Bowden. A lot of championships he won. I would just be so thrilled to have a drink with him and just enjoy his presence. Now, the last coach I'm going to say is a current coach, and as much as I am not a fan of this team, matter of fact, it's one of the teams I can't stand, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I got to go Mike Tomlin. I think me and Mike Tomlin would sit down and have a ball of laughs. I think we would have a great time. I could see his eyes just buck up like, I got that was a great drink right there. And, I mean, get a drink or two. I think I could see a press conference going down. I just think he'll make sure that you're taken care of, and we would just have a ball of laughs. I would love to sit down with Mike Tomlin and have a drink with him. I mean, absolutely. I just think that would be terrific on that. And I had my guy Adrian comment. He gave his 3. He also mentioned with you Herm Edwards, which I ain't gonna lie, I would love to have a drink of Herm Edwards too. I can't lie. Be like, I just want him to say one phrase. You play to win the game. That's all I would want to hear. I would want to hear that. And that would just make my night. Absolutely. He also mentioned Coach Fizdale from the Memphis Grizzlies, of course. He would mention, take that for data. One of the best press conferences I had ever seen in my life. Love it. #1 rant of all time. And then he also mentioned, Bobby Petrino. I was like, that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a couple stories.
I definitely could not disagree with that one. I mean, he has some illegal stories, but there's some stories all right as far as I'm concerned with that. But now I'll say this: since we running the show on this, if you could name one more honorable mention, who do you think that could be? Just one last one honorable mention.
Oh man, I actually brought this up to a couple guys earlier, and I think the consensus was, well, there was a couple that they named, but I'll go ahead and say Mike Singletary. You would probably end up getting in a fight with Mike Singletary. But not necessarily fighting Mike Singletary, but getting in a fight with, against whoever else he
had a problem with.
Him off. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and say Mike Singletary.
I like that pick. I definitely like that pick. Now, I would actually have to say, and this just came off the top of my head, I would love to sit down with the one and only John Madden. I would love to sit down and have a drink with him, the stories he could tell. And I would just want to sit down with him just to tell him, thank you for creating the Madden Football Dynasty video game. I would want to say that. Here's some stories on his Madden Cruiser and from his time with LA with the Raiders. And I think we could all agree. I think we would all love to just be able to catch a glimpse and say one word to the one and only Vince Lombardi. I think.
Yes.
The father of football.
I think you agree, because this was another name. John Madden was another one that was between the Mike Singletary, John Madden. But the other one I'll name, since we're just going off, Denny Green. I think,
yes.
I've heard nothing but good things about Denny Green, and obviously he passed away, but I think he would be a real good one as well.
Love Denny Green. Love Dennis Green. Heck of a coach. I mean, he was probably one of the best coaches that the Vikings have ever had. Got him to a couple of NFC championships. He had it with Cunningham and Randy Moss back in the day and Chris Carter. You could not stop that offense. I mean, that was absolutely a fantastic head coach. And, of course, the famous words, you are who we thought they were. I just be like, God damn, I love that. I love that. that was definitely a rant. That was the shit. Love it. Absolutely love it. But before we get out of here, Matt, if you don't mind, I want to say thank you for coming on and just being with me. We've had a lot of fun. It's been a long show, but it was a fun one. Please tell the great people, where can they find your great wisdom?
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, a lot of fun. Had a great time. First and foremost, if you're not already on Facebook, if you're not a member of Tennessee Titans Uncensored, go ahead and do that. Started that up a couple years ago. We got just over 9,000 in there right now. For Two Tone Uncensored, the podcast, I do that with Glenn Lossenheiser, Ryan Moreland. You can find us at ttupodcast.com. You can search us on Facebook, Two Tone Uncensored. The Twitter handle, I believe, is TTU Podcast as well. We're everywhere, man. I believe Ryan's even got us on Reddit, Fiverr. I don't know what any of that stuff is, but I believe we're on there. We push the podcast through Podbean. It's available on iTunes. It's available pretty much anywhere you can get it. So Two Tone Uncensored, check it out. We do it every week. We just had Justin McCarron's on. We released it today. Next week, I'll go ahead and drop it now. We got Drew Bennett. We already did the interview. We're going to drop it next week. Pretty excited about what's to come for us. So we'll see how it goes and just try to keep it moving.
Absolutely. And so I'm telling y'all, everybody, if you have not checked out Two Tone Uncensored, you should, because Matt, Ryan, and Glenn, they are knowledgeable. They know the game. They love the Titans. And they just flat out go uncensored. And it is a ball of laughs. I have a great time with it. I actually heard the Justin McCarron's interview earlier. And I'm telling you, it was a terrific interview. I mean, I was really amazed, that they got him on, and they know people, they know good people, and Justin McCarron, that is a excellent interview. I enjoyed listening to it, the stories he had to tell, and so if you hadn't checked him out already, Mr. Matt Nicrone, you can find him on Tennessee Titans Uncensored. Check out ttupodcast.com. Also, he is a friend of Titans and Truth. He is also on the Titans and Truth page. I got him on there with me as well. So if you need to get to him, you can also contact me. You can contact me, of course, Chris A. Newell. Also on Instagram at Blu_Enforcer. That's BLU_EN4CER1914. I'm on YouTube under Titans and Truth. Check out the Facebook fan page. It is up and going now. If you haven't found it, go look for it. Titans and Truth, we have an official fan page. Put your questions on there that you want to ask me for the next show, which we will go all defense for the Titans training camp coming up next week on that. And Matt, you're welcome back anytime. And definitely make sure you get Ryan and Glenn to get in with us, so that way we ain't taking nobody's jobs this time.
Yeah, man, I'll see who's available. Hopefully I can make it myself. If we're able, we'll be here, man.
Absolutely. And one last thought from Daryl King. Thank you for posting this question. Yes, Mariota will play 16 games. I'm going to bank on that bold prediction. 16 games plus a playoff game. And so, thank you, Matt, for joining me on this show. Thank you guys for rolling with me a little bit long tonight, but it is definitely worth it. Check it out. I will holler at y'all next time, next week for training camp defense. On behalf of myself and all the great fans and people of Titans and Truth, good night, y'all. I'll holler at you.